Wait a minute.
Marquez, Ken,
Come on,
and
come on.
Trish has
I'm
gotten
good.
so
Strong.
wild that it
So,
feels like we're
I mean,
watching a
you know.
reality show play
I'm
out
trying to
in
find
real
out what's
life.
going on with her and
Make
Ken.
sure you
What you
stay
mean what's
until the
going on
very
with her
end
and
of this
Ken?
video because the
It's too
way
much.
things
It's a lot
end will
going
leave you
on.
absolutely
It's
shocked. Trust me, you're
kids,
going to want to see how this
me.
entire back and forth
Trampoline
blows
place,
up.
but
Because
between him and
each
Zaria,
time one of them
they're the
says
most
something,
competitive because I'm
the
just
other
here.
jumps in with even
I think
more drama.
they still
And
love
it just
each other.
gets messier.
And it was
So
a
grab a
joke.
snack,
It wasn't a
sit back,
joking moment
and let's
to me.
dive into this
Once
chaos.
again, it
Now,
was
let's start with what set
strictly
this all off.
business and platonic.
Ken and Trish were
And
minding their own
And
business,
Maurice.
not even
And I
saying
think they've been
anything
through
about
similar
Marquez.
situations, you know.
And
So
Ken decided to
what you
make a
don't
post
understand is
online.
that whole
He
privacy
wrote
thing
about
that
what
she
he
has
and
going
Trish
on
do
doesn't
while
work for
people
our
are busy
relationship.
debating if they're still together. He added some laughing emojis, basically making light of the situation. It was one of those posts where you
This
can
was
tell they
amazing.
were
We
aiming
know
at
you guys
fans who
have
constantly
a lot of
speculate
things
about their
going, but we're glad that
relationship.
y'all came.
But here's where things take a
This was
turn.
amazing. We
Instead
know
of
you
fans
guys have
reacting,
a lot of
Marquez
things
jumps
going,
right
but we're
in.
glad that y'all
And let me tell
came.
you, from the moment Marquez commented, things went downhill fast. Now here's the thing: Marquez wasn't even mentioned. Nobody said his name. Nobody brought him up. This was a post directed at the people gossiping, not at him. But Marquez just couldn't resist. He decided to respond with a petty comment saying, "Oh, catch you spending the night." And right there, the energy shifted. I mean, let's be real, that's the definition of petty. If your name wasn't called, why step in? Why
I'm telling
add
you,
fuel
it's
to a
you.
No,
fire
it's
that
you.
people didn't
No,
exist?
And
no,
you get
sir.
out of
And
my
let's
house
be
more
honest,
respect
it
than you
makes
give
him
me.
look pressed. Viewers,
Go
tell me in the
to an outlet
comments,
somewhere and
if
be
your
good.
ex posted
You
something with
can't
a
do
new
that.
partner, would you jump in
Like I
with a
know
response?
you've done a lot
Or
for
would you
her, so
just
she
mind
doesn't
your
All
business?
understand
y'all.
this about this
Because
time.
Marquez
It's
didn't
kind
mind
of
his
beyond me.
business.
How
He
about
jumped
you,
straight
man?
in,
The
and
high
that's what
school,
made this whole thing
college,
explode.
NBA.
And we're just getting started, so
Over.
don't go anywhere.
Inside,
Ken, of course,
or
was
Wait,
not
you've
I
been
about to
inside
stay
a couple
quiet.
times. You've been.
You know
it's
how
kind of
Ken
awkward.
Izzy
We're
doesn't
meeting up
just
with
let
some of our
things
friends,
slide?
Kimmy
He
and
clapped back
Maurice,
right away
and I
and
think they've
called
been through
Marquez
similar
a goofy little
situations, you know.
boy.
So
He said Marquez had lost his rights to his kid for now, and he couldn't even come down the street to catch him doing anything. And then Ken took it even further. He reminded Marquez that he fought for custody of his little girl without even having a car, a crib, or a job. Now that's harsh, but it's also eye-opening. Because honestly, if you're trying to fight for custody, shouldn't you have the basics in place? A stable home, a car, something to show the judge you can provide. Ken was basically dragging Marquez for not thinking things through. And whether you love or hate Ken, he made a point here. But wait, this is only the beginning of the shots being fired, so keep watching. Ken didn't stop there. He called Marquez pitiful and even said, "The judge told you that you could petition to have me removed. But can you even afford to do that?" Now, that's the kind of line that hits deep. Because it's not just about words anymore. It's about money, stability, and power. Ken was basically saying, you talk a lot, but you don't have the resources to back it up. And once again, this made Marquez look even more pressed. Because if you're going to jump in with petty comments, you'd better be ready for someone to clap back harder. And that's exactly what Ken did. But just wait, because Trish wasn't about to sit quietly either. Trish decided she had something to say too. She jumped in and told Marquez that she hopes he's financially and emotionally stable for what's coming at him. And then she added, "When I bring the kids to court with me, enjoy your day." Now, let's stop here for a second. Doesn't that sound like a threat? Like she's saying, "I'm going to use the kids against you in court." That's exactly how it came across to many people. Because saying "I'll bring the kids to court with me" sounds like she's using them as pawns in this messy adult drama. And honestly, that's sad because at the end of the day, there's a child involved. The child should not be dragged into this mess. But this is what happens when adults can't let go and can't handle things privately. And if you think this is messy, trust me, it gets even worse. So don't click away yet. After Trisha's comment, Ken kept going too. He told Marquez that he wanted the attention, and now he's got it. He accused Marquez of lying and said he does nothing but talk about him all day. Trish then added that she's never seen a man so pressed about another man, and she called Marquez jealous. And honestly, she might have a point. Because Marquez keeps saying he's not pressed, but his actions scream otherwise. Think about it. If you're not pressed, why are you commenting under your ex's post with her new partner? That's not the behavior of someone who's moved on. That's the behavior of someone who still feels some type of way. And viewers, this is where I want to hear from you in the comments. Do you think Marquez is jealous, or do you think he's just being petty for attention? Now, Marquez wasn't going to stay quiet after all of that. He tagged Trish and told her he hopes she asks God for forgiveness for everything she has done to their children. And then he said he's more emotionally and financially stable now than he ever was when he was married to her. That was his way of saying, I'm not the same man you used to know. But the problem is, his actions don't line up with his words. If you're so stable, why are you wasting your energy commenting under their posts? If you're so stable, why are you pressed about what Ken and Trish are doing? This is why people keep calling him out. And Trish just responded with laughing emojis, which honestly might have made it worse. Because sometimes laughter stings more than words. But it didn't stop there. No, Marquez had more to say. And this is where things take a weird turn. So keep watching. Marquez then turned to Ken and told him to tread lightly and find something safer to do. Now that right there sounded like a threat. What does that even mean? Tread lightly. Find something safer to do. That's not regular talk. That's the kind of language that makes people raise their eyebrows and wonder what's really being implied. And it didn't stop there. Marquez then started asking Ken if he was a dealer, if he was on probation, if he had a CDL truck license, and even asked if he could get a 3.5. Now this is where it got confusing. Why would you throw out accusations like that in the middle of an argument? It feels way too specific to just be random. So now fans are wondering, was Marquez hinting at something real? Or was he just trying to stir up rumors and drag Ken down? Either way, it's messy, and it shows that Marquez is not letting this go anytime soon. And then Marquez went right back at Trish. He tagged her again and said he's not pressed about either of them. He claimed he just finds it crazy how they keep saying his name and telling lies about him. He even said if Trish is hurt, she should just say that. Now, here's the problem with that statement. Trish and Ken weren't the ones who started this. They didn't tag Marquez. They didn't say his name in their post. He's the one who jumped in their comments section. So to turn around and act like they're the ones pressed, that doesn't make sense. That's why people say Marquez is pressed, because he behaves in a way that screams he hasn't moved on. And at this point, it's like, Marquez, you're giving Preston all caps. You're giving Prest like a panini. And if you know, you know. But let's keep it real, viewers. This is not a good look for him. And here's the bigger picture we can't ignore. There's a child in the middle of all this. While Ken, Trish, and Marquez are going back and forth online, there's a kid who has to grow up seeing her parents and step-parent act like this. And that's the saddest part of this whole story. Because it's one thing to argue privately, but when you're blasting each other online, it's there forever. People screenshot, people share, and that child is going to see all of this one day. And honestly, it's heartbreaking. At some point, these three need to realize that this isn't about them anymore. It's about raising a child in a stable, healthy environment. But instead, they're acting childish themselves. And this is why fans are so frustrated watching this play out. But don't click away yet, because the way this ends is even more dramatic. By the time the dust started to settle, fans were already taking sides. Some said Ken and Trish were wrong for dragging Marquez so publicly. Others said Marquez had no business commenting in the first place. And then there are those who believe Trish is using the kids to manipulate Marquez. And that's why he gets so triggered. Everyone has their own opinion. But one thing is clear, this drama is far from over. And if you think this is the last time Marquez, Ken, and Trish are going to clash, think again. With the way things are going, feels like every few weeks we're going to get another round of this messy love triangle turned custody battle. And trust me, when that happens, I'll be here to break it all down. So make sure you let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Marquez is still pressed about Trish? Do you think Ken went too far with his comments? And do you think Trish crossed the line by bringing the kids into this? I want to hear what you think, because this is one of those situations where everybody looks messy in some way. But before you go, make sure you watch until the very end of this video, because the final point is the most important. At the end of the day, this whole situation shows us that moving on is not always easy. situation shows us that moving on is not always easy. People have been saying Martel's financial issues are stacking up. He had bankruptcy problems that haven't been fully paid off. He's been dealing with child custody court battles, and on top of that, he's been lawyer hopping. That's right, Martel doesn't seem to stick with one lawyer.
This was amazing.
The
We know
word
you
is
guys
that
have
when he can't pay
a lot of
them,
things
he moves
going,
on
but
to
we're glad
another
that y'all
one.
came.
Some even believe this is
This
part
was
of a
amazing.
strategy to
We know
delay
you guys
court
have
proceedings.
a lot of things
Now
going,
think
but we're
about
glad
that
that y'all
if
came.
he really had it like that. If he really had the money coming in, would he be out here switching lawyers over and over again? That alone raises a lot of eyebrows. And you're going to want to keep watching, because what we find out about his living situation will shock you. There are whispers that Martel doesn't even have a stable place of his own to live. When he has the kids, some say he might actually be staying with his mother, Marlene. That means his financial situation is so shaky that he's possibly rotating between places.
I'm telling you, it's you.
No, it's you. No,
And you give me out of our house more respect than you give me.
Expensive gifts like cars.
Go
Remember
to an
the
island
situation
somewhere and
with
be
Arian
good.
Curry and
You
that
can't do that.
BMW? Martel was
Like, I know
allegedly reimbursing
you've done a lot for her,
repairs
so
on
how
his
she doesn't
car,
understand
even
this
though
about
it was
his
said to be a
time is
lemon.
kind of beyond me.
That paints the
All right,
picture
how
of
about
someone
you,
who
man?
wants to appear
The high
like they've
school,
got it all together.
college, NBA.
But behind the scenes,
Over.
I mean,
things aren't as steady.
inside, like,
Stick
bro,
around,
I ain't
You've
even
been
been
inside a
inside.
couple
this video,
times. You've been
we'll get into
it's
how
kinda
all
awkward.
this connects
We're meeting
back
up
to
with some of our
Melody
friends,
and the
Kimmy
business.
and Maurice, and I
Decisions
think
that
they've
could
been
have
through
changed
similar
everything
situations.
for Martel. Speaking of Melody Shari, we've got to talk about how her story is the complete opposite. While Martel is out here drowning in financial stress and messy court battles, Melody is thriving. She's been working, building, and most importantly, she's making major moves in fashion. She's recently been at New York Fashion Week, showing off her leisure apparel line. Not only did she look stunning, but she also had her whole team with her, Deborah, Kavas, and more. Her mom didn't join this time, but even without her, Melody was shining. Every picture, every appearance showed her glowing, dressed to perfection, and living her best life. And let's be honest, Martel has to be kicking himself. Because had he made smarter choices and stuck by her side, he could have been living that life right along with her. But instead, he's stuck trying to pay lawyers and chase after storylines. Now, here's the kicker: Melody once offered Martel a solid business deal. She gave him the chance to take 15% of the business. 15%. That could have set him up for real financial security. But instead, he let outside voices and pride get in the way. Allegedly, Arian Curry pressured him, saying he should demand half. And when Melody refused, he told her to shut it down. And guess what? That's exactly what happened. That one move cost him everything. Imagine walking away from guaranteed money and stability only to end up struggling like this. If you think that's shocking, just wait, because we haven't even gotten to the cast drama about how much they really make from the show. People love to assume that just because someone's on reality TV, they're making Bravo-level checks. But let's be clear, this is not Real Housewives money. Cast members have spoken up about it, including Winter, who said they only make around $2,500. That's not enough to live lavishly, especially when you're working only 6 months out of the year. And when you're not doing a lot of scenes like Martel hasn't been doing lately, you don't get paid as much. That explains a lot about why Martel seems to be in financial survival mode.
Come on.
While Melody has been smart enough to build businesses outside of the show. And trust me, we've got way more to break down about this,
Chaos,
so don't
still
go
chaos.
anywhere.
I'm trying to find
Let's
out what's
also
going on
not
with her and
forget the
Ken.
emotional
What you mean
games
what's going
Martel
on with her and
plays.
Ken?
People
It's
have
too
said
much.
he
It's a lot
uses
going
Arian
on.
Curry for
It's
storylines just to make Melody
kids,
jealous. But
me.
here's the thing: Melody
Trampoline
doesn't
place,
care anymore.
but between him and
She's
Zaria,
past that.
they're the most
She's
competitive.
building
I'm
her
just
empire,
here.
traveling, looking
They
stunning,
still love each other.
and surrounding herself with people who uplift
It
her.
wasn't a joking
Meanwhile,
moment to me.
Martel seems to be
Once
stuck in the
again,
same
it
old
was
cycles, trying to
strictly
control women by
business and
controlling
platonic,
things like
and
cars.
Kimmy and
There's even
Maurice,
talk that
and
he
I think
didn't
they've been
want
through
Arian
similar
to have a car of
situations,
her
you know.
own,
So
because
I'm
that
trying to
meant
get
he
Trisha to
couldn't keep
understand is
tabs on
that that
her.
whole privacy
If
thing that
that's
she
true,
has going
it's
on doesn't
sad
work
and
for our
controlling,
relationship
and
anymore.
it tells us a lot about where his mindset still is. Stick with me, because we've still got to get into how all of this ties back
This
to
was
Carlos
amazing.
King and
We
the
know you
production
guys have
side of things.
a lot of things
Now,
going,
when it
but we're
comes to
glad that y'all
Carlos
came.
King, people have strong
This
opinions.
was amazing.
He's
We know you
paying
guys
Martel
have
through his
a
production
lot of
company.
things going, but we're glad that
But
y'all
fans have been
came.
quick to point out that his checks are not as big as people might think. If they were, we wouldn't see Martel struggling like this. Some even believe Carlos uses Martel for drama on the show, while Martel, in turn, keeps creating chaos just to stay relevant. And while Carlos might be winning on the production side, it's clear Martel isn't winning financially. But don't click away yet, because the story doesn't stop here. We've got to talk about the rest of the cast, from Marsa Scott to Letitia, and how
I'm
their
telling you, it's
situations
you.
compare.
No, it's you.
Marsa and
Now you give down
Letitia,
around
for
house
example,
more respect
aren't
than you
exactly
give
living
me.
a luxurious life either.
Put that for
There
an
have been
outlet
jokes
somewhere and
that
be
they live
good.
across from a gas
You can't
station.
do that.
And that doesn't
Like, I
exactly
know
scream
you've
rich
done a lot
reality
for her, so
TV
how she doesn't
star.
understand
y'all.
is
That
about
just
this
goes
time
to
is kind of beyond me.
show that the
All right,
paychecks
how
really
about
aren't
you,
as big
man?
as some
The
people
high
think.
school,
If they were,
college,
you'd see
NBA.
more lavish lifestyles all around.
I mean, like
Instead,
inside,
most of
like,
them are
well,
working
I ain't
regular
been inside a
businesses
couple
and
times.
hustling
It's kind
outside
of,
of
it's
the
kind of
show to
awkward.
make ends
We're
meet.
meeting up with some of our friends,
It's Melody
Kimmy
who really
and
stands
Maurice,
out,
and I think
because
they've
she's
been
been
through
able
similar
to leverage her
situations, you
fame
know.
into
So
actual businesses that bring in serious money. And that right there is the difference between struggling and thriving. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. Despite all the drama, despite all the setbacks, Martel still finds himself trying to connect back to Melody. Fans see it, cast members see it, and we see it too. Whether it's using Arian as a pawn, or showing up in ways that seem like he's chasing her shadow, the pattern is clear. Martel may have lost Melody in the marriage, but he hasn't let go of the idea of her. And meanwhile, Melody has made it crystal clear that she's moved on. She's not looking back. She's not trying to revisit that chapter. She's busy creating new ones. And this is where the contrast really hits. On one side, you've got Martel scrambling for money, hopping from lawyer to lawyer. And on the other side, you've got Melody building, thriving, and glowing. The truth is, the choices Martel made continued to haunt him. If he had taken Melody's business offer, if he had stayed loyal, if he had kept his focus, he could be in a completely different place right now. Instead, he's caught up in lawsuits, financial strain, and public embarrassment. And that's why people say he's using the show as a lifeline, because without it, where would he even be? But before we wrap up, I want you to really think about this. Martel's story is a cautionary tale. It shows us how pride, bad decisions, and misplaced loyalty can ruin opportunities. And it shows us how someone like Melody, who chooses growth, discipline, and focus, can turn pain into power. So as we look at the cast, from Martel Holt to Melody Shari, Arian Curry, Carlos King, Marsa Scott, and Letitia, we can see the clear lines between who's rising and who's falling. And trust me, this story isn't over. The next chapters are only going to get more dramatic, and you are not going to want to miss what happens next. That's why you need to stick with me until the end of every breakdown. 'Cause the show and these cast members keep giving us more and more. From the money drama to the relationship scandals, to the fashion globes and the business moves, every single piece tells a bigger story. And if today's deep dive into Martel's money problems, Melody's wins, and Carlos King's production tea has taught us anything, it's that things are never as simple as they look on screen. There's always another layer, another twist, another secret waiting to come out. Now, let's really dive into how Martel Holt's choices have created ripple effects. Not just in his own life, but in the lives of the people around him. When we look at the timeline, it's almost like watching someone slowly unravel. At first, Martel had the family, the wife, the business, and the spotlight. From the outside, it looked like he had everything together. But the truth behind the scenes was completely different. His financial decisions, his infidelity, and his inability to let go of control have cost him more than just money. They've cost him trust, stability, and respect. And while he still tries to play the role of the man in charge, the reality is starting to catch up with him. You'll see why if you stick with me until the end. One of the most telling signs of Martel's downfall has been his inability to maintain consistent legal representation. Think about it. If you have to keep changing lawyers, it usually means you can't afford to keep them, or you're trying to stretch out your cases as long as possible. Either way, it doesn't look good. Court dates keep getting delayed, custody issues remain unresolved, and instead of moving forward, Martel looks stuck. Compare that to Melody, who always seems to handle her business with precision and focus. The difference couldn't be more obvious. And this is exactly why fans are saying Martel might have been his own worst enemy. Hell might have been his own worst enemy.